Yeah. Well, boy, this looks like for the prison industry here. I'm going to sign the bills first, then I'll ask some questions, and I'll ask you not to repeat the same old questions. Show a little imagination. What?
Entirely new questions?
Hector.
I said new questions. I don't know spelling hairs. This is AB 95. You want to? Anyone around here? Where you should be a little closer because these things are pretty complicated. There's only about 3 people who actually understand this stuff.
And here they are.
All right. So, just one down. We got 13. I want to right now.
Yes. Is this your first bill?
Okay, no, this is not. AB 97. What's the name of this?
Health Service.
Of course, I read these this morning, so don't worry. Right? This is Prop 10. All right. 3. Prop 63. Transportation bill.
That's $860 million.
Education finance. Boy, that was slow.
Human services. Developmental services.
The reason why these are so long is the things are just, with the state doing so much of the funding of local government, it gets very complicated.
It's about to change. Did you hear it? This is the general government services. This is cash resources.
This allows us to borrow a little bit more. Tax compliance. Okay. That takes care of that. I do want to just point out over here, you can see that we've gone a significant part of the way to getting this $25 billion deficit handled. So got 14 billion solved, but we got 12.6 to go. And that's really where we are now. So the first point is the legislature has done some very heroic work. These are painful cuts. It hits vulnerable people. It's not the kind of thing that I like doing. I don't think it's the kind of thing that any of the legislators like doing. But when you have a deficit, you have to do something. And so I really want to commend everybody who helped get us where we are. But, of course, we're only halfway to the goal line. And we need to find more revenues, or we need to make more and more drastic cuts. And certainly the next round of cuts will be much more painful and much more disruptive than the budget reductions to date. And that's something I really want the people of California to understand, that we are in a serious bind here. And we are either going to get more revenues or we're going to have some very drastic cutbacks. And we'll have time to discuss what those are in the upcoming weeks and months. But we are making progress. I've been talking to Republicans who would like to give the people a right to vote. So far, they, I think, express a certain degree of optimism. There are a number of issues that they want to add to this. And I will say that just solving the budget problem is quite a challenge. And at this point, the Republicans who would like to solve it want to add some additional problems that are also very challenging. I'm willing, certainly, to go as far as I can to get all these other problems solved, whether they be pensions or regulations or other governmental changes, as well as trying to deal with getting the revenues and or making the cuts. So that's where we are. It's difficult, but I repeat again, I said I came here not to kid anybody, not to engage in gimmicks or smoke and mirrors, and to live within our means. That's the goal. It remains the goal this morning, and I would expect to be talking more with the Republicans to find out if some of them, at least a few, will vote to give the right of the people to vote on whether they want $12 billion more in cuts or they want to extend some existing taxes that they have been paying over the last 2 years. And maybe we could have do you want to say something, Mr. Senate Pro Tem here? So
Be very
I like
brief.
to share part of the burden here.
Yes. It's shared, believe me. And thank you, Governor, first of all, for laying out the only credible path for the people of California to get through this fiscal crisis. Usually a signing ceremony with a governor is a cause for celebration. And this isn't a cause for celebration. This is necessary, and it's governing. It's what the people expect us to do. And as the governor has said, and as Senator Leno and Assemblymember Blumenfield and Speaker Perez have said consistently, we need just a modicum of cooperation from the other side of the aisle to give people the choice and a vote, because no one wants to stand behind $26 billion worth of cuts. And so the work remains. Like the governor, we're in the trenches. We're willing to negotiate, but it has to be fair and reasonable, and it has to be done now. And this is a start. The good news for the people of California is that billions of dollars of this deficit are now behind us. Let's finish the work. Thank you, Governor Brown.
Okay, thank you. Do either of you want to say anything? You don't have to. You have the right to remain silent.
Got to have the Assembly represented a little bit. We want to really thank you for changing the tone in the Capitol in many ways, and having a partner is refreshing to be working with on making these tough changes. You asked us to get outside of our comfort zones, and we've done that in spades on the Democratic side, and we've gone further than any of us ever wished to. But we've got to get that extra step and move forward, as you've said, and we have to look at real, get partners to come forward with real solutions, not picking out these sort of mythical ideas out of the air. You've brought a pathway forward, and we've embraced it because we want to get California to be on stable financial footing, and that's what's most important, to get California moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you, Governor. Let me just reiterate what my colleagues have already said. This has been a great partnership. I remember in your inaugural address you said you weren't here to delay or to deny, and then you laid out a proposal in early January, which you stayed to throughout the entire process. As the legislature held hearings, we listened to the public and did our best to make some slight amendments to your proposal, respectful of the overarching architecture of it, architecture. And then when we made some suggestions and we did make some amendments, I was very pleased to see you put your ego aside and recognize that we could still reach the threshold of cuts, but do it in a slightly wiser way. And that's not something we've seen here in recent years. So we recognize this is a sober moment, and we've got this nut yet to crack. But I know you're going to succeed in that as well.
Thank you. Any questions?
Governor, I think that there's still a lot of confusion. We all asked you this. You said not to ask you the same question. But the public has no sense, I'm quite certain, of when this is over, of when you run out of time for a June special election. Can you tell us even what date you're shooting for, of an election or the negotiations?
I'm shooting for as soon as possible. I hope. I'm sorry you're confused, but sometimes life doesn't provide an answer because of your confusion.
I don't think it's just me, with all due respect.
No, I think it
a lot
is.
of people
No.
wanting to know how long you can continue this process.
And you know what? I'm among those people. I really want to know, but I'm not in control of 2/3 of the legislature. The Democrats have voted. The Republicans have said they will, under certain conditions, put the taxes on the ballot. Those conditions are still being articulated, and I'll get it done as fast as possible. At some point, we will miss a June possibility. I think that would be very tragic. But I will do everything I can to get a vote before the people. And if I can't do that, I'll try to make the billions of dollars of cuts as gently as I can, but it will be quite disruptive and painful to most
Governor,
people.
are you still
gone? Is June 7th gone?
I'd say June 7th appears
are
to
you
be
still
gone.
considering, or are you considering the idea of a simple majority vote on the taxes or an initiative petition campaign?
I'm not excluding any pathway to give the people the right to vote. I find it shocking that elected representatives can so cavalierly say the people, shut up, you have no right to weigh in on this. We know the people do not want these cuts. I mean, I'm pretty convinced of that. I've talked to people, I've looked at it, a number of surveys. These cuts are unacceptable to the vast majority of people. Now, this whole matter of taxes becomes more controversial, but certainly in a close case like this, why not let the people weigh in? They don't want to do that.
But the Pippic poll indicates that even if you got it on the ballot, it very well might not pass.
That's true, but it might pass. And I'd feel a lot better about making $10 to $12 billion in cuts if the people said, that's what we want. I believe that is a very important precondition to devastating so much of public service. It's not to be taken lightly, and that's why I really besiege my Republican colleagues. Give the people the right to vote on what it is California should look like over the next several years. And it could be a revenue enhancement, or it could be drastic cuts. I think this is bigger than the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or the legislature. I think it's for the people. Now, I want to say optimistically that there's been some very good feelings generated by a number of Republicans, senators, and I hope to meet with them again today. And I'm going to do everything I can. And I'm willing to, I do think we need to make changes in pensions. I think we may need to make changes in many areas. But I don't think we can solve all the disputes in California on all these subjects in the next week or two. And that's really what we're facing.
Can you talk
earlier today? You said that you think the voters would support the tax extension if they knew the alternative.
Yes.
If they knew, but you haven't laid out the alternative specifically. Tell us what an all cuts budget means and what is the alternative. Why don't you tell them?
The legislative analyst has laid out one pathway. And while I don't agree with all of it, it's very clear that he said more money will be taken from our universities. Billions, $4 to $5 billion will be reduced from our schools. That's pretty real. And there are others. It's just real simple. We got to find billions and billions of dollars of cuts. And certainly over time, it's going to come out very clearly what it is. The LAO has left it out. He has credibility. I don't want to go around threatening people. I want this to be a very factually based debate. And that's the reason I've been hesitant to run up and down the state like Paul Revere, saying the sky is going to fall. I'd rather have this a very deliberative process and let people discover over time what the alternatives are. And I think they will. Before they vote or before we make the cuts, the people of California will get a very good insight into what it is. But you can be sure it'll be very bad for the university. It'll be very bad for schools. It'll be very bad for public safety. It'll be very bad for the care of the mentally ill. It'll be very bad for emergency medical and things like that. That you can be sure of. The exact numbers, we'll make those available as we get closer to the real decision point.
Can you give us the pros and cons of your alternatives, going around Republicans and doing majority vote to put the special election taxes on the ballot, pros and cons of a November ballot initiative?
Oh, well, the pros of having Republicans support the plan is that voters feel better about a bipartisan solution rather than just one party saying this is what we like. So there's no doubt if Republicans join in, it's better. If business and counties and firefighters and teachers and nurses join in, that's good too. The wider the consensus, the more likely it is that the proposal has credibility and can win voter support.
No, but the alternative, we're going around Republicans and doing majority vote to put the special election taxes on a ballot.
Well, I'm certainly a lot of things are better than all cuts. All cuts is going to be a irreversible path forward that will leave a lot of tears in its wake. So I have to keep looking at a majority vote, an initiative, anything else that would make sense. But all of them are fraught with real difficulties. So time is closing, and the one thing that we can do, we can cut. We have that in a well, actually, I don't even have the power to do that. I have the power to propose it, but in the final analysis, only the legislature can vote on a budget, and therefore the possibility is that we don't get a budget at some point down the road, and that would be very, very harmful to our state's credit and to our economy.
In November?
You talked about political benefits of having bipartisan support. Do you think that having...
Well, I think the benefit is that it sends a more persuasive and confident message to the electorate. This is complicated. You saw those numbers of bills. I mean, you know, how many people can understand it? And the wider the support base, the more confidence of the people, and therefore the more likely that they'll vote for the revenues.
Do you think that having some sort of pension reform and some sort of spending cap on the same ballot enhances the political chances of these tax extensions passing?
That's not clear. I think the biggest, as I look at it, what people are most concerned about is that the money goes to schools and to public safety, and that they're sure that that's where the money's going. That's the most important message. Dealing with pensions, look, that's an issue we got to deal with. If we don't deal with it now, probably somebody's going to deal with it next year. And we know in California, initiatives come fast and furious. So I would say we're going to have to make some significant changes, and I'm prepared to do that. I laid out a framework. It's on my webpage. You can see what it is. It's not the final answer, but it's a framework to get us where we have to go.
But this is the last two-thirds vote that we could see for years in this Capitol. What assurance do you have, to Republicans that they could remain relevant in this government, that they won't just be steamrolled by Democratic majorities?
Well, I would give them my word that as long as I'm here, they will be relevant if they make themselves relevant. Now, the problem with this majority vote business is the Republicans don't have the hammer of holding up the budget. So this is their chance to hammer the Democrats. Unfortunately, if they don't reach an agreement and I proceed forward with the cuts, there will be a lot of moaning and gnashing of teeth, and there may be great delays, but at some point the cuts will be adopted and the Republicans will become irrelevant then, because there will be nothing more they can do to damage the state or to advance their interests that they see as the true benefit of the state, given the benefit of their thinking. So I would say an agreement now would be in everybody's interest. I mean, it's clear it's in everybody's interest, and I think it's what the people want. Yeah.
Governor, how really you are to have an agreement with Republicans? You are the one that are
how close?
Talking, yes. Because
only the good Lord knows.
Last question.
Governor, if he cares, clear to sign the law enforcement
not yet
today, 109. If not today, one.
We'll sign it soon, but we continue to work with our law enforcement colleagues, and they certainly are looking forward to the maximum protections that the rest of my package will provide.
Governor, how long do you have on June 14th now? June 7th is off the table.
We have enough time to get an election in June, and before we're out of time, I'm going to make sure you are among the first to know.
Thank you. I'll hold you to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think we have much June 28th.
Anna, do you have dollar figures for what was just signed?